The transformational journey is like that desert, leaving the old place behind that was full of filth, darkness, bitterness, hatred, to go through that desert and go through the stripping, breaking, crushing, building, strengthening, to be clean, open, and ready to step into that beautiful space filled with light, joy, positivity, creativity, harmony, peace. Remember that every hit just builds resilience and strength. It's like a diamond. Every time you strike the diamond, it just becomes more sharp, striking, and more sparkly. And I see that the same way with our self-transformational journey from nothing to the great life that we see in our heart and mind. Empowering you in purpose, personal stories, life lessons, and sustainable art. This is Tales and Tea with Lakshmi B. Hello everyone and welcome back. This is episode 3, Why Self-Transformation is Worth It. Leaving your old life behind and your dream life is real. Today's episode is again another very special one, and I feel is a very significant episode. It's something that I have gone through in my life many times and am currently going through it again. On this journey, we are in a life that is made up of seasons, different seasons of life. And I find from my own experience that these seasons seem to come in patterns. The challenges and the circumstances may be different, but they seem to follow a similar pattern. For example, a season of joy where lots of good things are happening. You have those successes, new jobs, amazing friends, and really good times with your family. And then you may go into a season of sadness, of trials, of hardship, where things are seemingly not working out as you expected. What I want to talk about today is following our topic of the journey of transformation and becoming the person that you see in your dreams and visions. This dream life in your heart that you have always seen for years, but have never quite seen the full fulfillment of it in your everyday life. On this journey, I've learned that your dreams and visions are indicators of where you can go. They hold the truth of your purpose and who you are on this planet. And I believe they hold a lot of keys and significance. And as we take courage and have the faith to follow these dreams and visions that we've seen in our heart, we are going to go through a series of processes and transformations. Right behind me, you can see this beautiful butterfly gown. Not the same as the last one coming out of a cocoon. This one is a butterfly that has come out of its cocoon and it hasn't quite dried off yet. Its wings are there, the colors are there, everything is in formation. And it's getting ready to dry itself off and take flight. Hasn't taken flight yet, but it is well on its way in its new form. And I really love this art piece because it represents the next stage of life. So we've gone from our seemingly small caterpillar, we've gone down this dark tunnel, which is part of the journey of transformation. And in this dark place, where we couldn't really see ahead, we've gone through a lot of challenges, things that have shaped us, things that have transformed us into a new being, into a new person. And I love the story of the butterfly because it's so significant to our lives. And when you look at nature, you see the same pattern all throughout creation. And we, as spirits in this human form living on this planet, are a part of that creation in this lifetime. There is often a lot of focus on the really bad parts and then the really good part when we are that butterfly and we're flying and taking flight and in that season of joy and prosperity. But I find we don't hear a lot about that transitional time, that transformational time where we've gone from this caterpillar-like state to the cocoon to the butterfly. What about that part where we're squeezing ourselves out of this bad place, out of these challenges, and we've formed into this new being, but we don't really feel our best. We're not sparkling and shining and flying yet, but we have come into this new form. In the Bible, you hear the story about Moses when he's leading the Israelites out of Egypt. And there is a part in the story where they're getting frustrated with him and they want to turn back. They're in this desert. They're right in the middle of their transition on the way to this brand new promised land where they are free and get to live the lives that they were called to live. But through this hardship, walking through the desert, there is a temptation to look backwards, and they haven't yet recognized the people that they are becoming. Another transformational, transitional story. And of course, what's more powerful than sharing a personal story? I can count many times in my life where I look back and I barely recognize the person that I'm looking at. I see that same person with the same dreams and desires for the future, but I see someone who is still trying to figure things out, someone who is lost, and I would have to say one of the biggest things is someone who cannot recognize who they are. The dreams in your heart, the end goal, that place where you know that you need to be, that person you know you want to be, the person who you really are on the inside, isn't fully visible on the outside yet. For example, I go back to when I was 15 years old. That young girl, I just discovered my true passion for wanting to get into the fashion industry and start my own brand and develop my own company. And when I look back at that girl in high school, it makes me sad sometimes because when I think back to the dreams that I had back then, they're very similar to the dreams I have now. Although those dreams have now taken a more mature form, when I look back at that person, on the outside seemed very far away from the dream compared to the person I am today at 31. I am living in parts of that dream now and working on developing the parts to get me to that place that I know I need to be. I would say some of the biggest things that I have realized is character development. You often hear it so many times from different leaders and gurus that you can do everything, do all you can and want to be in that new place. And you might get there. There may be an open door, but you won't be able to stay in that place because you haven't yet developed the character that matches that new environment where you're going. You're still wearing the old shell of your old environment. For example, I go back to a time in high school where I believe a lot of the great favor and opportunity I've had in my life is because of my faith, which we talked about in episode 1. I was very blessed that I was raised on a foundation of faith and developing a relationship with God. And I remember when I really discovered that this is the industry that I believe I was made for, I had the creative gifts for it, and I had a big passion to pursue it. I would pray every day and read different scriptures to support my journey. You can call it luck, but I call it blessing. There was a phone call made by the work education department at my school, and they had gotten me an internship, work experience, and placement with a top Australian fashion designer. I was only 15 years old, just about to turn 16. This was huge. I got to work in this boutique once a week while I was going to school and doing fashion college at the same time, all while preparing the foundations of my own sustainable fashion company. So this was a very exciting time. But the funny thing is about this story is that when I look back, some of the negative things I could point out about myself, despite the passion and the will, is I didn't always have the best attitude. I would get upset and I was very reactive over certain things that would happen. Sometimes I would withdraw into myself and become very shy. I used to use my clothes as a way of building confidence. So I would often look the part. I could walk into a room and be noticed because of my creative gift. But because I hadn't developed the inner qualities of character, I found it hard to navigate those rooms and the people in those rooms. I remember I got invited to my first fashion event, and I was very nervous and very excited to wear one of my new creations at this event. And I got to help the designer with his collections, and I was sitting at the VIP table. And at this table were some famous celebrities at the time. There were radio hosts, TV stars, models, and even some political figures. I think I must have been about 17 at this time, or turning 17. And here I was sitting at this table with all these people wanting to get to know me and chatting. And I remember freezing in that moment. And there was a stack of magazines next to me. And I found myself lost and just staring at the words on the pages, not even engaging in conversation. And I always look back and kick myself because one of the celebrities there was from a travel show, and he was telling me about his trip and journey through India. And I had just come back from a trip to India to see my family. So there were so many things I could have gone into, but I didn't have the full developed confidence. And I would have to say, even social skills, although I was very good at networking from a young age, I found myself feeling small in this arena. I guess you could call it an imposter syndrome as well. I began to withdraw from that conversation and then slowly pull myself away to a point where no one was speaking to me much after that. And I remember leaving that event and feeling sad that I had really wasted an opportunity. And I can recall many different times and stories where this had happened. I can even get into other details where I found myself often very distracted. I was in a time where I was getting a lot of opportunity. I had myself in different areas, all relating to this fashion career that I was building. And I would get very distracted by people. It's always been a weakness of mine throughout my life, whether that is friends or relationships, people or the wrong people who were consistently pulling me away from my dreams. The area we lived in, we didn't have a lot of people in that area who were very successful, who were known for doing something significant. And there was a lot of negativity in that area as well. I was blessed that I was able to go to a private school for high school. Because we had really high quality facilities, it was able to cultivate and give people the resources to pursue their dreams. And I remember one of the people we had at our school was a famous Olympic swimmer. There was one or two people you could really look up to, but in my personal friendship group, I didn't have anyone like that in my own circle. The closest thing I had to success was my dad, who was doing very well in real estate in our area and setting records. So I would often look up to him. When it came to friends and personal relationships, I wasn't moving in circles with people who thought at a higher level, who were actively pursuing their dreams and goals like I wanted to. And I found this weighed very heavy on me, and I hadn't yet developed the skill set to learn how to navigate that, how to be in a season that could be called loneliness, which is only temporary, which I didn't understand at that time. And I didn't want to be by myself. So I thought, instead of being alone and doing this, I'd rather have love, what I thought was love in my life, and hang around these people or this person that I'm dating. And unfortunately, that had a massive impact on me and massively backtracked me. After all the work and all the sacrifices I had made at such a young age and all the opportunities I had, I really did end up wasting some of those opportunities, choosing to go out with this person that I was dating instead of investing my time into the fashion boutique and perfecting my skills in that area. These are just some of the things that happened. There were a lot more things that happened, a lot more stories I could go into. But I have to say, fast forward, almost over 15 years now, these are circumstances and things that I would never allow in my life today. And it's taken a long time to get to this point. A lot of things have happened in these past 15 years. There has been trauma, betrayal, There has been a lot of wasted time, many mistakes I have made. I even do have regrets, and I don't believe in not having regrets, because for me, the things that I regret doing are lessons that I will not repeat in my future. And that regret holds weight to remind me of the importance of why I must make a better decision in future. All of these things that have happened, for years I looked back at them and thought, you idiot, why did you do that? You know better. You knew secretly in your intuition that this was wrong. Look at the time you've wasted. Look at all the sacrifices you made, and it all amounted to nothing. And for a long time, that was my mindset. And I would beat myself up about it and get really upset. But now, as time has passed, only the past even year, I would say, even 6 months, I am amazed at how much you can change when you are actively conscious of a self-transformation journey. It is amazing how fast and how much you can change within a few months to even a few weeks. You can look back and not recognize yourself. I have actively been on a focused self-transformation journey the past year and a bit, where I have actively wanted to work on myself to become better, because I am not happy with all the things in my life, and I want to see more of those dreams and visions come to be. When I stop for a second and look back, I know it's very cliche, but you always hear people say, oh, when I look back, I'm so happy that all of that stuff happened, because look at the person it's made me to be. And I have to say, yes, yeah, it's true. When I look back, I'm, in a way, I don't want to say glad, but I understand why I didn't get to where I wanted to be back then and why it has taken so much time. And I'm almost glad that I didn't get everything I wanted back then, despite the mistakes that were made, because I truly, internally wasn't ready for it. Fast forward, again, 15 years, just before COVID, many of my childhood dreams were coming true. I was working in the fashion industry and entertainment industries. I was even invited into some powerful circles with leaders who make decisions for our communities, people who have major influence in society and even the world. And this time I felt more equipped for these arenas. My networking skills were a lot better. I made much better connections. And I have to say, even though there was a massive improvement, looking back again, fast forward 4 more years, when I look back at that time, I even still see that I wasn't ready for my breakthrough yet. The kind of people that I had allowed into my life, growing up, I always had a bit of an issue with attracting narcissistic personalities into my life, being overly empathic, and putting up with things that a normal person probably wouldn't put up with, someone in a healthier mindset. I could see that a lot of that had happened to me back then, and I found myself around people that I would never be around today, people who are not operating with ethics or the well-being of people and our society, very self-serving behavior. And I would always analyze the situation and look back, and part of me sees that I'm glad I experienced it, because now I know what's out there and the truth of what's out there. And another part of me doesn't want to experience it again. I know what I know, and I don't need to go back there. And when I look at it, I always think, what was the purpose of that? What was it trying to show me? And I have to say, I wasn't being as strong as I could have been. Yes, I've always been strong. But when I look back, there are certain things that I really could have walked away from earlier. Certain things I really didn't have to put up with that I did. And putting up with those things has been extremely taxing on my mental health and my emotional well-being. And it's taken a very long time to heal from those things that happened. When I look back, I see someone who still has a lot to learn about themselves and about trusting themselves and their own intuition. So for me, it's been a big journey of learning to trust my instincts. I have learnt the hard way that my intuition and first instincts 99 times out of 100 are always correct. And I have learnt that I must trust this process. And of course, this goes back to a lot of things. I know no childhood is perfect. I didn't have a terrible childhood, but there were imperfections in it. Things that happened that caused insecurities in myself. I had a very strange up and down type of teaching where it was like be bold and successful and work hard to you're doing it wrong and you're not good enough, you need to make this better. And both of them were given to me at extremes. So I had these two teachings as a young person, and both of them together left me feeling quite unbalanced. I would have these moments where I felt like I could do anything and I'd work really hard and achieve things. And then I'd have these dreaded moments where if it wasn't perfect, I would feel like the biggest failure on the earth who didn't deserve to live. And that had a big impact on me growing up. The insecurity I felt in certain arenas, like not being confident enough to talk to that travel guy, not saying no to the narcissistic personalities I met on my journey before COVID. All of these things had their impact, and all of these things taught me a lot about how to make things better moving forward. And they've also richly developed me in the most unconventional way at the deepest level of my being. One thing I can say that has helped me progress on this journey of self-transformation is it's very important to always have an anchor. So like I've mentioned before, having faith in something bigger than yourself, having a relationship with God is really important. And through that, you'll often find your purpose. Your purpose will become clear through that. And for me, my anchor, which has also been a strength and a weakness, has always been about people and being with people, healing people, helping people. And I've always had this desire to make a place better than when I found it, or to help someone who's going through something, to make a difference, even in the trenches. And having that anchor is something that has helped me move through the pain that you feel on the journey of transformation. Always having that end point, that anchor, that end goal. And I have to say, despite some of the bad things that have happened and the trauma that has been caused and the healing that I've had to do, it's very important to always look back and remember the wins that you had, because there are probably a lot more than you recognize. When I think back to the incredible journey of faith and being able to be in places that most people would really only dream about going to or being a part of, even though I wasn't 100% ready for those arenas, the amazing thing I love about God is He lets you be an observer in an environment. He lets you learn about the environment. I had some truly incredible experiences at the same time, and I met some really wonderful people as well. These wins, when you look back, it helps strengthen my faith. Look where I've come from, the middle of nowhere, in a town that's far away from the city, where nobody in my sphere even gets to go to places like this. They only watch it on TV or social media or whatever, and here I am in it. That was a win for me, showing me that it doesn't matter where you are or how unknown the place is or yourself, that when you have a vision or a dream for something, you will get there eventually. One of my dreams was to always see my clothes and dress people and celebrate creativity in those arenas. Now I've been able to do that. It has shown me that, wow, it really doesn't matter. You give things time and you keep working and following the process and trusting it. You do get there eventually. One thing that is really important is often when you go through this transformational journey, there are mistakes that have been made. There are things that you do sometimes that you wish you didn't do. You may have let a certain person into your life that you wish you didn't. And when I look back at all the time I feel was wasted with certain people, there can be a lot of shame, guilt, and even embarrassment. And I have felt those feelings for years looking back. and even wishing that certain things didn't happen, wishing I hadn't spent time with certain people. And I know you hear it all the time, but forgiving yourself matters. You have to forgive yourself, because there is not one soul on this planet who's done it right, who's done it perfect. Every single person you see, every single person you meet has gone through their own crap in some way, whether it looks like it or not. And you have to remember that even though you might be going through this hard time now, there is always better out there. We live in a world that is full of both good and evil. If you're in a place that feels evil and terrible and like you can't get out, focus on the good. Ask God to help you, and a door will be open to you to get out and go on this journey. And that's what's happened for me. I have to say that one of the most important things right after believing in something bigger than yourself and having faith and building a relationship with God is to zone in and focus on your purpose. I found that my end goal and focusing on purpose has literally pulled me through the mud. It has pulled me through some dark tunnels. It has pulled me through rooms that had no light. It has pulled me through times where most people would have just given up. And it has pulled me through some great uncertainties where the future wasn't clear. I really believe in the importance of purpose. There have been testing and trialing times where I've almost forgotten my purpose. And when you have lived a life where you know your purpose and you know the passion that fills your body and your soul with, when you go back to forgetting it, you literally feel dead. So when I think about anyone who wasn't brought up this way, doesn't even have an understanding of what purpose is, I feel there is a dullness. They are not living to their full life's capabilities. I remember very recently, I actually met someone, and I remember feeling very sad because this person seemed very charismatic and they were outgoing, but they had a slight desperation to them. Honestly, they were so lovely, and I thought, this person seems very sweet. But when I got to know them, I realized there was a very deep-rooted sadness, and it was a sadness that I don't even think they knew the full source of. And then I asked my simple question, and I said, "What is your life purpose?" And I remember this person said, "I don't have a purpose. I don't know what that is." And I felt really shocked because it's been a long time since I've outright heard somebody say that. I mean, usually when I speak to most people, they say, "I'm searching for it," or "I kind of have an idea of it," or "I think I know what it is." They're in a pursuit of it. This person was a flat out, "No, I don't know. I don't even know what that is." And after everything clicked, it made sense. The desperation, the sadness, the dullness that I was picking up from this person, despite the happy face that they were trying to put on, made me deeply sad for this person. I just hope and pray that they do find it one day, that they do look into it, because I know when I've been in that dark tunnel where I've felt almost purposeless myself, there is nowhere to go but down, unless you have a wild, miraculous intervention or something happens to you where you wake up to yourself and you hear the stories all the time. These people rummaging around, living for the moment, and then bang, a massive accident happens or something crazy happens that makes them question everything and find a depth and a meaning to life. And it really doesn't have to get that crazy. It can be as simple as taking some time out, thinking about it. There's something Steve Harvey said when it comes to recognizing your gifts, and it was along the lines of, your gift is something that you do with the least amount of effort. What comes naturally to you? What is that thing that you love to do that comes with ease? And that is a massive clue into what your purpose is in this lifetime. Your purpose can be made up of many different things. It can be made up of different gifts that you have. There can be different activities, different jobs, businesses that are a part of that calling. For me, I've always had this split calling that's actually got a lot of togetherness. I can see the harmony in it. It was my creative gifts. Designing sustainable clothing, beautiful clothing that makes people feel happy, that tells stories, to spiritual gifting, praying with people and unlocking their true potential in life and giving them clues and helping them figure out their purpose, to bring healing to people's hearts and homes through spirituality and creativity, creating beautiful spaces that inspire, that bring beauty to what was once a dull place, transforming something old and unwanted into something beautiful and magnificent. It doesn't have to be just one specific thing, but start with something. Dig deep and look beyond the surface. Sometimes, like they say, the answer may be right in front of your face. It could be something you do all the time and you don't even realize it. And this always makes me laugh, but I found one of my gifts was speaking and communicating. And it's something I got criticized a lot for by my family. Oh, you always talk so much. Just shut up. Like, all you do is yak. Why don't you just get on the radio and then you can yak for a living? And then why don't I start a podcast? So it really could be anything. Whatever comes with ease. It's really funny. Sometimes my family says, I don't understand how you can talk so much. And you know when you have people over and you're talking to all your guests and you're networking or whatever, then when they go home, most people just crash or go to bed. It was always me and maybe a couple of my other friends sitting in a lounge, still talking while the sun was coming up. And then the sun's up, we have a shower, we go to breakfast and we talk more. I don't get tired of it. I mean, obviously everyone needs rest, you know, but I realized I don't know if this is normal. Maybe this is a gift. So there you go. I'm going to take a little quick tea break. So over here, this beautiful tea set. This is my mum's and it's got some little cute bluebirds on it here and some vines. And this little teacup is so special. I found out actually that my great-grandmother had painted this. And I believe it says 1967 on it, which is super cute. And it goes with these flowers. Absolutely love this beautiful bouquet. I run events and we get heaps of flowers left over. And often a whole bunch of them just go in the bin. So I like to save them and put together my own cute little bouquets. And I've put this bouquet together. And it's actually fed through this little bird cage, which is super cute. And then we've got this beautiful little bouquet pudding that my mom, Susan, the bee and Lakshmi bee, has made from her lavender cocoa kitchen. So I'm definitely keen to try that. Tea I'm having today is organic restful tea. And that sounds delightful, doesn't it? Wow, that's good. I definitely needed that today. Okay, so where were we? Back to the journey. When you're on your journey of self-transformation, you are going to experience a lot of challenges. And these challenges are going to develop and strengthen your character so that you can be better prepared for the new arenas, the new places you're walking into, and the new people that you're going to meet. I grew up in some pretty weird places. So for example, when my dad was doing really well at business, he was able to send me to a private school for high school. But before that, I was going to a public school, and this particular public school I went to was known to be in a very low economical area. And we had kids from all different places. Some were from very, very poor backgrounds. And then you had like middle class and then the odd one or two whose parents were business people and they owned property in the area. There was actually a beach close to where I lived. So they would have the houses near the water, which obviously cost more. And it was crazy because right down the street from those waterfront properties was Housing Commission, which is government housing. So we had a whole cluster of different kids that I grew up with. I had all different friends from different backgrounds, cultures, economic status, all that type of thing. Very mixed group of friends. And one thing I noticed, I often had these chances where I got to go into really cool rooms with inspiring leaders and people. Whether it was like an event or a community event and I was asked to host it. Often when you go to places like that, you meet leaders, people who are leaders in their community, in their field. The common theme with leaders is they operate at a higher thinking level. They're very focused, very driven type of people, usually very confident. And I would always bring a group of my friends to these events. And you would always see the ones from the tougher backgrounds shying away or withering away at these events, and they would often hide. And there was a lot of shame, guilt, embarrassment, imposter syndrome, feeling like they don't belong here. I even had some of them tell me, Lakshmi, I don't feel comfortable here. No one's going to like me. No one wants to talk to me. I'd be like, what are you talking about? I'll introduce you to everyone. And I was always like that little butterfly in a weird way. And I was like introducing them to all the people, and this is so-and-so, blah, 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 sit at the front, it's all good. Like, you can share my space. I was always loved sharing my space or my platform or whatever I had. I've always been like that. And it would just break my heart seeing them space out like this. And I totally get it. Absolutely understand, having been through it myself. It just brings me back to when I thought about it. I have been through certain things that have now grounded me to be able to stay in an arena like this, which is part of the reason I was invited to this event. And when I look at my friend, they haven't been through the same things that I went through. Yes, we started at the same place, but I have been through certain things that have strengthened me and grounded me to hold weight in this area. And with some of my friends, and I love this, they're amazing stories, I helped take them through some of those processes. And I know you can't help everyone, but sometimes God gives you one or two people to take under your wing. And I taught them about fashion and style and how to speak better, confidence, taught them about people and characteristics and things to look out for, little phrases that they can say to open up a networking opportunity. Even super random, how to eat bread at a gala. I know one of them wasn't very happy about that and said, why do I have to sit here and eat bread like this? This is stupid. And yeah, I agree in some way, but I also believe that when you come into someone else's environment, you have to have respect for that place. Yes, not everything is good, but not everything is bad. And it's like when you get invited to someone's house, you respect the customs of that house. I see that the same way with environments. This is someone else's event. This is what they expect. And if we don't like it, we can leave. But we have been invited here as guests. So we're going to conduct ourselves as respectful guests. And this is something that was instilled to me at a young age, to have respect for the people that you're meeting, for the environments that you're going into. And we can say whatever we want to say, but being able to be a respectful person in any environment has opened a lot of doors for me. A lot more than some of my friends who have come from these backgrounds where they weren't taught etiquette or haven't been through certain processes in learning how to speak, how to dress, how to conduct themselves in a space. And I have seen them struggle to get anywhere in life because of it. I have seen them struggle unnecessarily, and it breaks my heart because while they're wondering, why is no one talking to me, or why am I not getting ahead, I can clearly see why that's not happening for them. When they have been presented with opportunities to change and upskill and uplevel, they have refused to take it out of pride, out of hatred or bitterness, instead of looking at the good parts of it. One powerful thing is that it is better to be respectful in an environment, even if you don't agree with everything. Get in the door and then influence that room when you're in there. That is very powerful. And I know that does not apply to every situation. There are places that really are not right and we need to put our foot down. But in general, it is wise to be respectful, especially when walking into arenas that you want to be a part of, because you are walking into someone else's creation that they have worked hard to cultivate, and they have certain principles and values that are a part of this world. And that goes down into industries. And of course, nothing is perfect. And if there are things that are unethical or things that we don't like, we have the power to change them by being that change ourselves in those environments, or creating a new environment that harbors those traits that we want to see, those changes that we want to see in the world. So through this journey, there is a common theme of what I like to call cleaning out house. When we go through life, we pick up a lot of baggage, or when we go through certain things, certain challenges, they force us to change in ways that we didn't expect, or ways that can seem or feel quite difficult. And I find sometimes we have to unload unlearn or leave behind certain things to walk into our new arena. And that can be anything from people, habits, thinking patterns, and the way we react to certain situations. It's like with anything. You can't fill a closet with brand new clothes when it's full of heaps of trashy clothes and it's stuffed to the brim. You want to clean out that closet first, and then you can feel proud filling it with beautiful items. And there's nothing worse when you've got this beautiful dress that's been handcrafted with love, tailored from scratch with beautiful couture style embroidery, and you put it next to an old ratty t-shirt in your wardrobe. It's the same with our soul, with our spirit. We must go through certain things to remove certain things that aren't working for us, that aren't serving us, that are stopping us or blocking us from entering into the new place that we are trying to get to. And again, going back to that story of Moses, the hardships that the Israelites went through in the desert and the faith that they had to have to believe, even just to eat or have water, I can't imagine what that would have been like, being in the middle of nowhere, going to a place you've never seen before, only in your own heart and in your own mind, and having faith to go through this terrible time for almost 40 years before you even saw it. And I'm not saying you're going to have to go through this for 40 years, but as a reference, it amazes me that when you fast forward, look at the incredible land that they got to go to and all the good things that sprouted from that and the prosperity and the abundance that came to that community. And it's the same with us. The transformational journey is like that desert, leaving the old place behind, going through the desert that strips you of all the things that aren't serving you, that builds your character, that strengthens you, so that you are ready when you get to this new place. You now hold weight to stay in that place, because the new place is full of the new mindsets, new ways of being, light, and you cannot mix dark and light. The old place that was full of filth, darkness, bitterness, hatred, torture cannot coexist with the beautiful space filled with light, joy, positivity, creativity, harmony, peace. So if you've come from this place first, the hard place, it is necessary to go through that desert and go through the stripping and the breaking and the crushing and the building and the strengthening and the unloading to be clean and open and ready to step into that new environment. And I want to be very honest with you about the things that I went through in my desert, in my wilderness season. There was and has been a lot of loneliness. When I finally reached the conclusion where I realized I can't be around these friends or these people anymore because they are not willing to go on this journey. They harbor that old mindset that is only pulling me back. And I cannot share my dreams with them because they think they're stupid. They're going to laugh at me and convince me out of it. I actually need to cut these people off. And I've cut off bad people, and I've also had to cut off good people who didn't know better. And it has been extremely difficult. And I have walked seasons by myself where there really wasn't anyone I could really talk to or confide in. And yes, I've been blessed that I've got a great family, but there have been times where I didn't live at home and I had nobody to really trust or lean on. I always had one or two friends around that I could count on, but they weren't there all the time. They had their own lives to live. And there were times where it was just me, myself, in the room. And there was darkness. There were many suicidal thoughts where I thought, this is too painful. I can't go on. And I'm like, is the life I'm dreaming of, does it really exist? Am I really going to get there? Am I going to have my own fashion runway shows? These are all the things going through my head when I was in my early 20s and I had left Brisbane. I'd left my home at the Gold Coast and I'd come to Sydney, this new city, which was very difficult. It was very hard. And I left behind everything I'd known for the past 14 or how many years that I was over there. And it was very difficult because I was literally starting from scratch. But I knew it was necessary that if I had stayed where I was, there was no way I was going to be able to get to where I know I needed to be. Fast forward, after the darkness, the dark thoughts, I held on to faith. I kept visualizing and clinging on, hanging on to the dream, to the vision, to the purpose, to God. All of those things I hung on to, and by some miracle, I was able to get through that terrible place where I finally had the opportunity to do my first fashion show. And after that show came multiple opportunities to do many more shows at higher levels, leading into dressing models, celebrities, and meeting some truly amazing people and having some truly amazing experiences, which were my childhood dreams, the dreams I dreamt up all the way back in the day when I was that young girl at school. So that is one season of my life where I have seen the fruit of staying the journey and going through this self-transformation. And I could tell you more stories, even recent stories that have happened that illustrate this, even after the pandemic that we have been, where I pretty much lost almost everything, and I left a lot of stuff behind me that I felt wasn't serving me. And I was grateful for those experiences because a lot of them were childhood dreams that had come true. But I had realized on my growth journey, I had out-evolved a lot of those places that I was in. The pandemic, as horrible as it was, gave me an opportunity to cut off everything that I'd been doing up to this point and begin a new life on my journey of transformation to get closer to the massive dream and vision that I hold in my heart that hasn't happened yet. And through a crazy bunch of experiences that I'll share more about throughout this podcast, I am now here sitting in this chair with a stronger foundation and things in my life that make more sense than they ever have before, with some truly amazing opportunities at my fingertips in a completely different arena and different world than I've ever been in before. And one of my prayers that I love is I always say, thank you, God, that you are doing exceedingly, abundantly, above and beyond all that I ask or think. I repeat this every single day, and I am now living a life that some of it I haven't even dreamed of. I just visualize myself in a place of light, happiness, peace, joy, and there are things unfolding in my life that are representations of those feelings that I wanted, doing work I didn't really expect that I'd be doing. And I love the beauty of that yes, it's good to dream and to visualize, but I am slowly at this level now learning the beauty of surprise and leaving things in God's hands and having faith like I've never had faith before, to experience joy, happiness, truth, and passion on a level I never have before, because a lot of what is happening to me has been unexpected. But that's another story that we can get into later. After you've gone through all the rubbish and all the crap, we come down to the healing part of the transformational journey. I was reading a bit about metamorphosis, and when the butterfly is squeezing itself out of the cocoon, that this squeezing process, we can see it as a painful process. So we've now developed and formed into this new being from the caterpillar to the butterfly. And now we see that tiny light at the end of the tunnel, and we now must squeeze ourselves out of this place to get ready to dry ourselves off and open up our wings and fly. And I see that part of a journey for me as the healing part of the journey, which I feel is some of the final stages of the transformational process. The healing stage can involve everything from self-forgiveness, forgiveness of the past, letting things go, clearing a house. It can be a whole list of different things. And for me, part of that process involved connecting back to a good church with people that I actually get along with and connect with. Don't expect to go to church and feel like it's going to be perfect. With any group, you've got to find your people. And if you haven't felt connected to a space, find other spaces, because your people are out there and you will meet them at the right time. I've now found a really lovely one, which is so good. Some of my work colleagues are a part of it, which is super cool. And I've had some truly magical and healing experiences at this place through the prayer, through the worship and meditation. Something that has brought me a lot of healing is connecting with prophets. So at some churches, they will bring in a speaker or a prophet. A prophet is someone who has a gift, a spiritual gift, to see the future and to help you see the purpose that God has for your life. And they do this through a lot of prayer, and they're very rooted and grounded in the word. And of course, it's wise. You must be discerning. And I feel intuitively you can pick up whether someone is a good person and has good intentions or not. And also to remember that when you do get a word, it's important that you test it yourself. So when you go home, you go into your own state of prayer and you ask God, is this aligning with what you have for me? And I was very blessed. I found an incredible prophet at this new church I'm attending. A lot of things and baggage that I had been holding on to and certain people that I'd had around me, a lot of that had come up, and I was able to recognize what I could let go and be excited about the future that I was walking into. And that was a very freeing and healing process for me. And of course, getting into the word again, reading the Bible more, and finding verses that jump out at me, that really connect to my experience and where I'm going, plugging into positive content online, shutting off the junk of social media, removing myself from anything that harbors even an inkling of negativity, because this process is very delicate. When you've come out of this state, you can almost feel a bit weak. You can almost feel like a wind could blow and you could fall over because you've been through so much. And I think about that butterfly that's just come out of the cocoon, and it could easily be crushed in this moment. It hasn't even opened its wings yet. It needs to dry off first before it can spread them. And so it is very important to make sure that you take time, don't get too crazy, give yourself peace and grace, and heal where you need to, even if that means seeing a psychologist. I saw a psychologist for a while. It's something I didn't really believe in because I always rely on my faith, but out of curiosity, I wanted to go. And it was interesting hearing things from a different perspective. And I think there's a lot of power in hearing things from different perspectives. It gives you a more open idea of a situation and shows it to you in ways you may have not thought about it before. And it also strengthens what you already know. It helps you realize that a lot of what you had known internally, your intuition, was correct and that you're not crazy. And that is a very freeing and healing feeling to know. And a lot of what the psychologist was telling me, a lot of it was things that I had already known about myself. A lot of it was things that I had suspected about situations. And she even brought some clarity to things that I had been questioning or wondering about. So I find that is also another very powerful experience in the journey. Someone told me, I mean, it's just like with anything, a group of friends or a leadership, a community, whatever, is you got to find your people. And if you don't like the psychologist or whoever you're seeing, find someone else. There are good people out there, and there are people out there who will understand you, who have gone through what you've gone through. And I find it's very important to take courage even when things feel like they hurt or they're uncertain, and to go forward regardless, to forget fear, to forget ego, shame, disappointment, worrying about what you look like in this moment or wondering, where am I going? And these are all things that plague our minds. But to take courage and know that no bad thing lasts forever. Your situation will change and you will experience joy, happiness, peace, and prosperity in your lifetime as long as you hang on and you stay the process. Do what you know you can do in this moment. Use the resources that you do have that are available. Worst comes to worst, you can always Google things or YouTube. There's some incredible free content online from some great leaders. I think I've mentioned in another podcast before, someone that I grew up with that helped me a lot was Tony Robbins. Tony has some incredible, inspiring content out there to help you with your mind, your healing journey, your well-being, finding your purpose. People in that arena are fantastic. If you have nowhere else you feel you can go, or you can't get to somewhere to find the help that you want or that you need. Now, moving on to the last couple of things on this transformational journey is the lovely distractions. So if I'm right when you're getting towards a breakthrough, sometimes the things from your past, the things you've been trying to get away from, will sneakily try and rummage their way back into your life. And it's very important to not allow those old things back into your life, because I'm telling you, there's times I have, and the sneakiest ones are through relationships. The people that you'd let into your heart, a piece of them might still be lingering around there, and they'll come, and it just takes a couple of words or a bit of whatever, and you're snapped back into that ugly situation, and you hit the ground harder, and it hurts more because you've now experienced the light, the newness of this new transformation, and you find yourself in this hideous, ugly place. How do I overcome distractions? One of the biggest things I do is I change my number. That's really important. I never keep the same number for years on end, because there are certain people that you need cut out of your life, especially when you're on a transformational journey going from a nothingness to a greatness. You meet a lot of undesirable characters along the way because you're navigating through a lot of ugly spaces. So it's important to change your number. That has been helpful for me. I don't answer any unknown calls. I try to keep the phone away from me. Limiting social media. I only use it for business now. Keeping really good, high quality people in your life, trusted leaders or mentors who can help you discern, because sometimes you miss things, sometimes things sneak up on you. And I find the biggest thing is, if you're like me and you're in the moment and you meet someone, or it's like a wrong person or someone you shouldn't be around, and in that moment you fall, or you give them your number, or you do something silly, or you agree to something in the moment, very important to remove yourself from the situation, go home and really think about it before you take action. So for example, you get approached by someone who you know in your heart isn't the right person, and for a date or something, and they come up to you and they say, "Can I get your number?" And it feels like you're getting along, it feels like it's going really well, but there's just something that's not quite right, and they're displaying traits of things you've seen in your past that you know are red flags. And maybe you messed up and you didn't say no and you gave it to them. This actually happened to me not that long ago. And I was shocked because I'm in such a different place now, and I would never, ever consider doing this. And this person caught me off guard. I was in work mode. I wasn't really thinking about anything else. And here I am finding myself quickly giving this person my number. And after I had given it, I thought, what have I done? Cannot believe I've just given my number. I don't even know this person, and they're displaying red flags right now that I have recognized from many people in my past. There is a pattern here, and this is not professional. It's at my workplace. This should have been the first sign. A truly decent person would have waited till work was finished and asked me later, not so quick getting into my head like this. The most important thing is to go home and think it through properly. Because there have been times in the past where I didn't think it through. I got caught up in the moment and I ended up meeting someone I shouldn't have even met. And all hell broke loose after that. And I'm talking things like stalking, really toxic behavior, getting out of my routine, being distracted, not focusing on work, all of the above. And when this happened again recently, I thought, hell no, we are not going down this path again, because we know where we're going. I know where I need to be, and this person is not contributing to where I know I need to go. So I need to cut this off. I made a decision that I would not meet this person, and I made a firm decision that no matter what happens, or if they contact me or whatever, I will not be meeting up with this person, because I know nothing good is going to come out of this. And it's funny because when I made that decision, they really reminded me of someone, and I was trying to figure out who it was. That night, I had a dream of someone from my past, from when I was 18 years old, and they mirrored this person, and this person wasn't a good influence in my life. And I woke up shocked, like, oh, I knew I'd seen this before somewhere. And you have to understand that people carry different spiritual energies, different energy in general. And this person was mirroring dark energy I had experienced in the past, and I recognized it. But it wasn't clear until I went home and thought about it properly. And I'm glad I did, because if I hadn't taken time out to just think and process, I could have taken an action on something that could have backtracked me again. So there you go. I find that no matter how far you come on the journey, especially on this growth journey, there's always going to be some distraction or something trying to pull you back from the great progress that you've made. Something to be really aware of, and don't beat yourself up if you make a mistake. You always get another shot to try again. And remember that every hit just builds resilience and strength. And I've often got this word from people for years. It's like a diamond. Every time you strike the diamond, it just becomes more sharp, more striking, and more sparkly with each strike. And I see that the same way with our self-transformational journey from nothing to the great life that we see in our heart and mind. So overall, I want to finish with appreciation for the journey, with gratitude. And you always hear that word so much that it's almost lost its weight in a way. But just thankfulness. To be truly thankful for the journey, the good and the bad, for what it's given you, for how it's pushed you into change, into better, into breaking away from the past and old habits and thinking patterns, people that weren't helping you, that were only pulling you back. And see it as a grand overall picture that every single one of these things has helped me get to the place where I am now. And I find that from my own experience, the more gratefulness I can have, the more open my heart is, and the more open I am to receiving better things, the more better things are coming into my life that are being magnetically attracted towards me. It reminds me again of faith, because God works miracles through faith. And when I'm thankful, I am being faithful, because I am being open to receiving the greatness that God wants to move through me, because nothing can be forced through us. It's up to us to be open to receiving the great things that are there for us, to be unblocked and open. And if you're really struggling and you're really feeling blocked, I have been like that for years, is to keep praying and keep asking God to help heal your heart and open you to receiving the great things that are there for you. And that, again, is its own process. But I can tell you that things do come through, and they will come through for you. As I come to a conclusion, I have to say that I now realize at this point in my life that everything truly has a purpose, truly has a deep purpose and meaning. And knowing this is worth more than anything else I could think of in this world. I now feel like that butterfly that has come out of this cocoon, and it's now getting ready to fluff out its wings and be ready to take that leap and start flying. There's a verse that I really want to share with you that I have been keeping in my mind for years, and I often recite back to it, and it has massively helped me in my transformation journey. And it is the verse Matthew 17:20-21. For truly I tell you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Isn't that so wonderful? What that means to me is that it doesn't matter what challenges or how dark life may seem, is that when you really believe something and you really hold on to it, those dreams and visions that you have in your heart, that purpose that you know is for you, you hold on to that. Your faith, through your faith, will unlock the door to help you enter into that and make that a living reality in your everyday life. I want to pray for any of you out there who are in your transformational journey. You're going through your own struggles, or you've been through struggles, and you might be at a place where you're getting ready to spread your wings too. Or you might be in a place where you've just entered your transformational journey. I want to pray for you that you will have courage to stay the journey and to see your dreams and visions become reality in your lifetime too. Dear God, we thank you for this podcast. We thank you for the opportunity to share your truth with the world. I thank you so much for every single person here with us, tuning in, viewing us, or listening, wherever they are. Dear God, I thank you for all of them. I thank you so much for their lives. I thank you that you have a special purpose for every single one of them. I thank you that that purpose will be revealed to them if they don't know it yet. And I thank you that you would fill them with courage and desire to stay the path, to stay on this journey and see that purpose come to fruition in this world. I thank you for all the people that they're going to help. Thank you for the impact that they're going to have on this world. And I thank you for all the lives that are going to be healed through the gifts that you've put into each and every one of them. I just see someone right now and you're sitting in a car. I don't know if you've pulled up on the side of the road or you're having a break or a rest or something. God wants to let you know that he sees you. He sees you in that car right now. And he's been with you on this journey, even when you don't feel like that he's been there with you. And wants to let you know that although you may feel like you're on the edge, like you're standing at the edge of this cliff, to not look down, but to look up and remember the truth and all the possibilities that are there before you, because they are not a fantasy. They are a part of your life and they are a reality. To keep going, to keep traveling on your journey, and know that everything is going to happen for you at the right time. That it's all there, laid out there for you, and it's all waiting there for you. That this journey has been crafted and perfected and created for you before you were even born on this planet, and you will see it through. You will see the great destiny and the great things God has for you. Those dreams and visions in your heart and mind, I pray that they will come to pass in your lifetime. For you, your children, future children, and all the generations after you. Thank you, God, for every single person in this podcast. Thank you that they will see your will done in their lives as it is above, and their purposes fulfilled on this planet. May they leave a legacy for their family, for their communities, and all the generations to come. Thank you for healed cities, towns, suburbs, countries, and a healed planet. Thank you, God, that every single person tuning into this podcast is a part of that destiny and that mission. And I thank you that we will see your goodness done in this present life as it is above. We thank you and we pray these blessings in your name, Jesus. Amen. Thank you for joining me at Lakshmi B. If you were inspired or encouraged by this episode, please like and share with your family and friends. You can find out more about us at lakshmib.com and our socials at LakshmiB. Subscribe and join us on this journey. Together, we can all help make a global difference by simply doing what we can, using what we already have, and becoming the great people we were created to be.